Okay, I've been thinking about doing this video for a while, but I've been holding off because of the amount of crap that I got when I actually published the video I'm about to do some commentary on. Some of you got very fired up about it, so I thought, why not? How about we look back on a video that I did almost a year to the day. In fact, look, it's the 17th of November 2019. The other day I was thinking, man, I only did this a couple of months ago, but it was nearly a year ago that I did a video which was titled Flight Simulator 2020 Will Kill X-Plane, or Will It? And in the video I set out 5 reasons that I thought at the time that Flight Simulator 2020 would not kill X-Plane. So I thought it'd be a bit of fun to go back and let's do a bit of a reaction video on this to see how far off the mark I was. Some of it will be a little bit funny, that's for sure. A reminder though, you know the drill. Our YouTube algorithm loves the like button. Please go ahead and smash the like button. Or smash the dislike if you don't like it. It's still engagement. Get into it. Also, if you are new and you enjoy this sort of content, go ahead and subscribe down below there too. It costs nothing at all except just a little bit of self-respect. And I'm about to give up some self-respect probably, so why don't you do that also? Also, hey, look, some of you might get pretty fired up in the comments. Some of you might actually mistake your personal opinion for facts, so just be careful of that, but be respectful in the comments. Take this video for what it is. It's a bit of fun, and just looking back to see how accurate I was. So last time I got a number of people saying that X-Plane would die instantly as soon as Flight Sim was published. Also, there were people who were very wary of Microsoft and were holding off, but most of the comments were people taking the piss out of my accent, so no doubt that will happen also. Anyway, with that said, let's go back. I'm going to just pause it and make a little bit of commentary around some of this stuff. But these are the 5 reasons that I said a year ago why I thought that X-Plane would not die as a result of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Here we go. First reason is limitations around specs. The reality is it's for some people, they're just not going to be able to play the game, or they're just not going to be able to play it to the level in which they expect. I mean, if you look at some of the proposed specifications, and nothing's been confirmed yet, but you're getting something like an i5 2500K 3.3 gig processor, and something like a GTX 960 graphics card. Now, neither of those are the latest technology by any means, but those are being proposed as minimum requirements. By the time you factor in having everything maxed out and producing the sort of graphics and gameplay that we're seeing, I would expect it to be significantly higher than that. And because of that, it simply will rule some people out of picking this up straight away. Internet connections could be a limitation for some people because some of the graphics, particularly the scenery, are going to be basically data driven through your internet connection. So if you haven't got a connection that's fast enough, you're simply once again not going to be able to have the performance that you're looking for. But secondary to that, you can obviously go ahead and cache some of this from what I understand, but that's still going to put additional load on your system, also storage considerations, all that sort of stuff. So I think the first reason I think that this won't kill X-Plane or other existing platforms is just purely people won't have the hardware to be able to run this thing either properly or to the level in which they expect. The second reason, okay, before we get into the second reason, what do you reckon about my specs prediction right there? A few months after the video came out, they then published the specs, and I would say that specs is probably less of an issue than I probably thought it was going to be for a start. Now, I think we're certainly seeing a massive boom in people upgrading their systems so they can get the best out of Flight Simulator 2020, but for some people that might have extended their time in X-Plane, but I don't think it was one of the major reasons that people would have gone back to X-Plane, if that makes sense. So probably not as much of a big deal as I thought it would be. It certainly is a big deal to be able to play Flight Sim at its full capacity, but it's not probably a reason people would stay with X-Plane. Not as big a reason anyway. So yeah, I probably wouldn't give myself a pass mark for that one. So let's get on to the next one, which is talking about investment in their current platform. Is that some people just won't want to let go of the huge investment that they've made into their existing simulator. So for example, if you're like me, you've probably invested over the years in add-on traffic, add-on scenery, aircraft, utilities, and all that sort of stuff. And it can make it quite difficult to move on until you're 100% sure that you've got your money's worth out of what you've already got installed on your existing simulator. Now, this is not unusual even in the same platform, because I remember back when FSX came out, and we were years into FSX, so we're sort of like 2012, 5 years after it came out, and people were still refusing to transfer over to FSX from Flight Sim 2004 because they had Flight Sim 2004 running beautifully, they had a ton of different add-ons, all that sort of stuff, and they just didn't want to make the move because they had so much investment in their current platform. It's also been one of the reasons I've seen around the place why people haven't made the move from FSX to X-Plane or whatever it might be, because once again, they've just invested so much into that existing platform. So what I would expect to happen is, number one, it might stop them moving at all to Flight Sim 2020, but even if they do move to Flight Sim 2020, they'll still probably play their existing platform because it's got everything there that they need, and once again it's just that fact of all the investment they've put into it. So yeah, I think that's another reason that the X-Plane certainly won't be dead. Okay. Alright, so if we take a look at that one, I think I was quite accurate on that one, and you didn't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. I think I've seen quite a bit of commentary around the fact that people are still playing X-Plane on the back of the add-on aircraft and all that sort of stuff, and I mean that is actually, if you can see up on the screen right now, we're going to talk about lack of content, and that's probably a combined reason is the fact that they've got some favourite aircraft that they've got in their existing X-Plane platform that they've invested in, and so they'll go ahead and flick into X-Plane to play those, and then back to Flight Sim 2020 for the stuff they do have. So it's probably a combination of the lack of content and the investment in the current platform. The other thing is that it's very much an individual choice, because you could have an amazing setup, even a sim level setup, that is all based around X-Plane, and you're very happy with that. So once again, it would be a contributing factor, maybe not for a huge amount of people, but it would definitely be a contributing factor why some people would remain with the X-Plane platform. But like I said, it's probably more of a tie-in with what I'm about to talk about right now. Okay, the third reason is lack of content, and I think it's reasonable to expect that when the game launches, it is going to have a limited amount of aircraft, add-ons, and all that sort of stuff. Now, there is talk that third-party developers are going to be aligned to this game, be able to pump out some content, but that certainly is going to take a bit of time. So, for example, if you want to jump up in your favourite aircraft, you're probably going to have to go back into one of the earlier simulators, X-Plane, whatever it might be, to be able to get your fix. Now, it's not unreasonable to expect this to happen, because if you look at, say, consoles, when PS4 launch, for example, it launches with, say, 15 titles or whatever it might be. And so people hold on and play their PS3 for their favourite games for an extended period of time until that library is increased. So it's pretty much similar from a flight simulator point of view. Also, you might be flying for, say, a virtual airline, and it has a plugin that allows your flight data to be automatically uploaded to their site, and that stuff just might not be available on release. So with that in mind, that's going to encourage people to probably keep their existing simulation platform. Okay, before we get on to point number 4, I think I absolutely nailed it there. I'd like to congratulate myself. Once again, you didn't need to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. And while you personally might not be affected by that or think it's that important, there's certainly people out there who do. So you're going to have, I think it's pretty well documented now, 3 months after launch, that particularly in the airliner space, that there's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of people are waiting for PMDG and the likes of them to produce some sort of, not study level aircraft, but like a lot more in-depth aircraft. Obviously, you got the guys over at Fly-by-Wire have done a fantastic job with the Airbus A320, but particularly in that airliner space, there's definitely a lack of content. And like I said in my original comments, that's not surprising at all. And, the default aircraft are the default aircraft. I don't think they're that great at all, but that's to be expected to a certain degree. So I know absolutely for sure, and you just only need to go and look at some of the other YouTubers out there. Like, a lot of them are mixing in FS2020 and X-Plane, particularly when they're jumping back in the airliners. Hey, it's not a bad thing. It's just an area that I definitely thought would be a contributing factor. Over time, though, Obviously, that's going to become a less and less of an issue as the developers are getting more and more involved in publishing content, but particularly early on, it's certainly not going to be what a lot of people said down in the comments, that it was as soon as this thing launched, X-Plane was going to die. There was a reason that it was certainly going to carry on, at least in the short term. So let's get into this next one. Fourth reason is brand loyalty, because there'll be a number of people that will just stick with X-Plane no matter what, because they love the platform, they want to support it, and it's just their favourite platform to flight sim on. Some of them will also have been burnt from their previous experiences with Microsoft. If you think back to FSX, where there wasn't a lot of development for a long period of time, where the game wasn't really optimised and all that sort of stuff. So they might be sitting back and saying, let's just see how this title develops before putting too much time into it. There's also the less reasonable angle where they're just a straight out fanboy, and even if FS20 was the best game ever invented, they're just not going to move because they hate flight sim series and they love X-Plane. So there are a number of reasons, but I just wouldn't discount brand loyalty as another reason why people will stick around with X-Plane. Okay, the fifth. Okay, so it is a reason, but it's not a major reason, I don't think, in terms of brand loyalty. I think, absolutely, I think you look at the X-Plane community still alive and well, and people do really enjoy the sim. And I think probably one thing that I didn't mention earlier is some of the physics and stuff like that in the aircraft. A lot of commentary out there that X-Plane is much better than that. I'd certainly agree from a controller sensitivity point of view, it's all over the place. So by the way, here's the thing, for flight sim has got a lot of development still to happen, and there's a lot of things still to be ironed out. It's not perfect. There's some people on the fence that are on the side of the fence that are saying it's the best thing ever invented and there's nothing wrong with it, it's perfect, and then there's other people on the side that says it's an absolute heap of crap. Well, the truth is that somewhere in between, it's got a lot of amazing parts to it, but it's certainly got deficiencies, and I think you take in a balanced look at it, you can see that there's certainly room for improvement. But the fanboy side of it, the brand loyalty, there'll certainly be that there, but I don't think it's a major factor, but it's certainly a factor. The final reason, everybody, and just before I get to it, please make sure you comment down below on all these points here. Let me know what you think personally, but the fifth and final point is existing platform development. So this is a bit of a challenge in the market. Flight Sim 2020, it's raised the bar by the looks of it, and so now X-Plane developers, Laminar Research, are going to have to up their game to try to match it and put out a compelling product in the next iteration of the game. As you know, that's a pretty natural development as you go through all the X-Plane, X-Plane 10, X-Plane 11, and each successive title is better than the others for a number of reasons, and so that's what they're going to have to do. And this is exactly what competition in the market does. It forces others to up their game, or else they will actually die. So I can see, judging by the development of X-Plane over the years, I think they'll rise to the occasion. We might see a bigger and better X-Plane in the next launch. So there you have it, everybody. There goes my... Oh, there we go. Okay, I went a little bit too far there. But yeah, I think that last point that I made right there is the absolute key point. At the end of the day, Flight Sim will certainly get to a point where there's just not that much wrong with it at all. And so it'll be a very compelling option for people. But the ball's very firmly in Laminar's court now. So if they can present a equal or better option to Flight Sim, then obviously you get that crowd coming back into your platform. So it's going to be really interesting to see which way they go. There's a lot of rumor in the market about what they might or might not do, whether they focus on mobile, whatever they do. But yeah, this reason right here, I'd once again like to congratulate myself and totally agree with myself. This is definitely a reason, because this will ultimately decide whether X-Plane dies or not. This wasn't whether X-Plane 11 is dead, because let's be honest, over time it will just become obsolete like every other version does, but will X-Plane the series? And that's going to be the key point. Where are they going to go? Number 5 is going to be the big telling factor. So anyway, I thought I'd have a look back there, everybody. I think, on the whole, I was relatively accurate. It was, they were quite general, the points, and it was just based on experience from previous launches of Flight Sim. So there wasn't a lot of stuff that, you couldn't figure out pretty easily. The comments were really funny though. I still go back and look at them sometimes. People get really fired up. And like I say, some people get their own personal opinion mixed with fact, and sometimes they can't see that other people might think differently. So just because you would swap over doesn't mean necessarily someone else would swap over. But anyway, a bit of a funny look back. I got some things right, some things I was way off the mark. But my personal opinion on Flight Sim 2020 is, I think it is a fantastic platform for VFR flying, and that's what I'm passionate about. So I'm really loving it at the moment. Jumping in those those single engine or twin engine aircraft and just puttering around, on the likes of Neofly and On Air and FS Economy, and just doing those sorts of things. And in the background, the big tin's starting to get sorted. So I'm really enjoying the platform. The graphics are unbelievable, and being lucky enough to upgrade my rig a couple of months ago, a month or so ago, means I'm really starting to get the most out of this sim platform. So I think they've done a really fantastic job. Certainly a lot to work on. Like I said, controller sensitivity, also physics, there's some issues, and also content, but that will come. But no, it's a good start. But X-Plane is still there, and I've still got a lot invested in X-Plane, and I still enjoy flying X-Plane. You certainly notice a difference graphically, but it's still a very, very good simulator to fly in. So they both can offer you something, and as one person really put it really well down in the comments, why not both? And I think that's really what it comes to at the end of the day. But anyway, everybody, hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new. Make sure you smash that like button, I should say. And until next time, everybody, take it easy.